This conference will now be recorded.
Call the December 9th, 2021 Pelican Preserve Advisory Committee meeting to order. We have a quorum here. Randy Bottleson, Doug Zander, John Grega, Glenn Sikorsky, Joe Schofield, myself, and Teresa Phillips will be joining us later. We have Laura Leroy has a presentation to make, and she needs to leave the meeting relatively quickly. So we're going to skip down to that item on the agenda, which is the Wiser invoices item.
Laura Leroy, Assistant District Manager. I just need permission from PPAC to move $397,820 from your HOA agreement account into a separate budget line item to be able to pay for the Wiser security invoices. The reason that those funds need to be moved is normally Castle was paying for those, and so we just covered those expenses through the HOA reimbursement account. So I took the annual cost of your contract, and that's what the $397,000 is. I have a separate GL line set up to track it so we can tell exactly how much you're spending on your security, but I just need your permission to move the funds. It's just an accounting thing, just to move the money from one to the other so I can pay the bills.
Any questions, Laura, on this request? We have a motion.
I got one question.
Well,
Yeah, my only question is who's going to tell you it's okay to pay it?
They have a monthly fee.
So it's a contract.
It's a contract.
Okay, so if there's any exception,
I will let,
It comes
it will
through
come on
PPAC?
board. Yep.
you're welcome. Okay, any other questions? If not, I entertain a motion to approve what Laura has proposed.
I'll second the motion.
Well,
No,
Doug will make the motion.
recommendation to do what Laura requested.
Seconded. Any objections? If not, all in favor? Aye. Okay, it passes unanimously.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you. Okay. We'll go backwards. We've already had the call to order. Approval of the minutes, October 14th, 2021. Any question about those minutes? I like the fact that our minutes are getting to be spare and not too much stuff in them. If not, can I get a motion to approve the October 14th, 2021 minutes?
I will make a motion to approve the October 14, 21 minutes.
Okay, second?
Second.
Doug seconds it. Any further questions? If not, all in favor? Aye. Passes unanimously. Okay, November 10th, 2021 minutes. Any questions about those? If not, again, I will take another motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the November 10th, 2021 minutes.
second,
Randy seconds it.
second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Well, we got through those pretty quickly. All right. Financial report.
I had provided to you the first month of our first fiscal year, and we discussed last meeting to add the Gateway financials. So if you look at the second page, if you look at the second page, I've added that additional information from Sonia, that sends me from Infomart, the numbers for Gateway. And I had sent this to you earlier in the email to review, but I would like to present this each month. So not only do we get our budget from PPAC, but also in turn, the gateway. And notice I've very much condensed that gateway CDD financial.
You just put the major lines.
Yep, the totals by expenditures, for example, administrative.
Mhm.
And on the far right is the budget of $2.8 million.
Okay, so, but the net income loss at the bottom is the total of both the CDD and the gateway services? Is that
No.
right? No.
Just CDD on the second page, gateway or PPAC on the front first page. And we know it's a moving target. So
Yeah.
1 month is difficult. Like for instance, if you look at our CDD one, we spent more on security, but that was due to invoicing and when they were processed. So it'll all catch up over time.
Glenn, my suggestion would be that you carry the CDD total number over to the second page. And then
Okay.
And then we would have a grand total, if you will, of all our expenditures. Because that ultimately is what the budget will be, is the grand total. So it would just be a little bit easier to see if you just carried that number over, and then we could see the grand total.
Okay, I can create on the Excel another line.
Yeah,
No
Yeah.
problem.
just carry that over. Other questions?
On the second page there, I mean, there probably is a cell problem with water management services where you look at the current actual 8425, the current budget 68,250, but the variance is only 278. Probably. You see that?
Yeah,
That's just a cell.
okay, I'll double check that.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions, comments? If not, nothing to approve. Thank you, Glenn.
Okay, I want to add to that, one of our expenditures that we're going to look into, Scott and I, is we're leasing a utility electric golf cart. That the fellow goes around the community picking up dog poop, et cetera, doing different things for us. And we're paying about $248 a month plus sales tax. And if we look into buying that golf cart in our next budget, we could potentially save about $500 more a year if we own that golf cart. However, Scott made a good point that we have to maintain that golf cart. And you're going to give to me the current terms of the lease when that'll be up, so we can look at when we might be able to look at buying our own golf cart.
Good.
All right?
Is it really worth saving the 500 if you end up with certain maintenance on that car?
Well, that's a good question, John. I agree. But then in turn, a new golf cart, which is research that it could last 4 to 6 years, there should not be much issue in the way of maintenance of it. If we get the lithium battery, et cetera, that probably there would be little maintenance over the terms of that length of that golf cart. So we can compare to what we've spent on repairs if we owned it.
If you can get a lithium battery with EasyGo, that could work. But if you get a lithium battery with, let's say, a club car, there are some issues with the two.
No, we can look into that. And this isn't going to be done in the next 6 to 8 months anyways.
Where is the resource that's actually driving around in that cart? Is that in the budget somewhere, and where does that come from?
Yeah, it's in that monthly expense in our CDD budget. It's about,
Is that a Nikon employee or a Castle employee?
The Castle employee.
Castle. Okay,
Is it for the community?
No, it's for CDD assets. Picking up trash on tree line, using the cart for picking up trash along the boulevard, and doing the maintenance on the monuments, and the other maintenance that requires somebody on site to take care of it. How often does he have to charge the battery?
Every night.
He does charge it every night.
How often have you replaced the battery?
I'll have to check because it's a lease. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll look into it. There's a
Yeah,
lot of questions.
I'm not sure saving $500 is gonna save you
Well, no.
in the long run much more than a couple $100.
No, but I just want to look into it over the next 6 months or so and do a comparison of the numbers. And it may not be worth owning that golf cart.
You got liability insurance and a lot of other stuff.
Oh, yeah, there's other factors to consider.
Does this person also do town senator?
No,
It's not a full-time job. It's a part-time. Strictly part-time for the CBD.
and this has been going on for years.
No, I know that. That just didn't know how. I didn't think it was that big a deal.
Mhm.
Well, you know, these carts get more expensive and the lease goes up, et cetera. But I'll work with Scott on it. That's all I got.
Okay, that's the financial report. Boardwalk reopening. It sent you a proposed announcement. Joe, you suggested a change to it.
Yeah, it was very minor change.
I think it's a good change.
Good.
I would say that the change of making sure that they know that it's PPAC is good. John, you have suggested that,
I'd like to suggest that any of our announcements, let's put the announcement in the first paragraph. I mean, up here, and then we can explain what PPAC is. We don't have to wait till the end to say what we really want to say. And that's what, I mean, these are fine, but say what we want to say first, and then we want to brag about who PPAC is, fine.
well, except that right in the first paragraph, we talk about what we're doing. We're reopening the refurbished boardwalk.
I think it's good that we're adding what PPAC is because there are an awful lot of misconceptions. And the questions I'm getting from people that are interested in landscaping group are quite interesting. Well, what's PPAC? What's their relationship?
I'm not saying not to say that.
John, just hear me out for a minute. I think that it's good to have it. The placement of it, I would rather not see it in the context of what we're trying to say. I agree with you, John, in that case. And either dropping it maybe down to the bottom or condensing it somewhat and putting it right underneath the heading, to me, would be maybe a more aesthetically pleasing marketing or advertising consideration. I think you're right. We should hit the point of what we're saying should be the
Right at the
focus
beginning.
of what's there.
I mean, this one here, for example, refurbished boardwalk through preserve is now reopened. That's perfect.
Okay. We can
up front.
It's right up front.
we can make that revision. Make that revision.
All right.
I think it's a very good article.
My suggestion is that with the consensus is to change that, but that I take it and have a rewrite done and send it out if everybody's consensus is that
I
we
trust
get it
that.
out. Everybody happy with that? Okay. We will do a slight rewrite.
Can I ask, Mr. Chairman,
Sure.
are we considering a opening ceremony or anything?
No, we really haven't. And there are issues with the boardwalk that you'd rather not make a deal. And one of the issues, by the way, is, if you start talking about announcements, you're going to be getting into the community association wanting you to get involved in some kind of a big ribbon cutting thing. So I'm suggesting that we just do this very low key.
That is ours, right? It's not-
It's ours.
Okay, so why should,
Well, we, because,
There's a tendency, John.
there is, to feel that, if we make a big deal of this, people are gonna, they're gonna wanna say, well, who's gonna put this together? Who's gonna be involved in it and that kind of thing. I think we ought to avoid it.
I agree.
My
I
opinion.
agree with you, Phil.
Any other thoughts on that?
I tend to agree with you.
You know, I just, there are, and then there are other issues with it that I just assume not bring to the floor. But I can
Open
certainly.
it up. I think the article that was put together is really good. And it's not focused on anything but the boardwalk, which I think is very important. And I think that should catch everybody's attention in the community.
Scott, are we in a position to open this as soon as we're ready to put this out?
Yes.
Okay. Any other discussion?
And are golf carts a lot in there?
John, that's
We don't
I
want to
think that's
discuss.
the issue you were talking about.
That's the
just a
issue I'm
second.
talking about.
I didn't
We
hear
are, we are not gonna, we start opening that issue up, which if you had a big opening, that opens that issue up. We're gonna have to address that issue. But we need to get the thing open. And if we start addressing the issue at this point, it's gonna take weeks or months to figure it out. That's where I come out. I just think
I agree.
keeping it low key is, I think, the best thing to do.
It's a good KISS rule. I agree.
I was going to mention that, John.
Okay, nothing further, then we will roll that out. Okay. Street replacement and street repair. So now we've got to go to consideration of the Avila contract. Scott, do you have anything?
I do not, nothing else than what I sent to the committee ahead of time on the cost. You should have that in your packet. Guess I think we're only done this one. We had spoken about doing a villa replacement. Are there any second thoughts about that? And we also have already given people what the policy will be as far as that we will have engineering inspections once a year. Do we need to do anything special with regard to the contract, Scott, if it's $109,000?
We do not, it falls under the level, but I am gonna need to get the authorization to go ahead and put it out for a bid with other contractors, because we only have the one contractor who did the road sample for us.
So that's what we need to decide
Yes,
to put it out.
if you want to move it along and then we put it out to bid.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I'm sorry, Scott Sharnow, Pelican Preserve. Yes, we just need the go ahead to put it out for bid. We do not have to use the public bid process because it falls under the dollar amount that it's required by the CDD. So we can do a internal bid, requesting owners for bids based on the scope of work.
I'm sorry, where is the bid? It's 109,000?
Yes, it should be. It was sent to all of you ahead of time. and
Yes, it was sent ahead of time, but
Yeah, it was sent to all of you ahead of time, and I also sent it to the district for including in your packet. Do you have that?
I thought it was 91,000.
Yeah, I thought it was under 100.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
thought it was 91.
Yeah,
was it? Okay,
What am I missing?
I misstated. I thought it was 109. I thought it was going to be in the packet that we got in the meeting.
Scott, I have a question. When we do our own repairs on, let's say, the cul-de-sacs and stuff, we always dig it out 2 inches and repair it, et cetera, et cetera. When they do a complete road repair, they still scarify the street, what, 2 inches?
yes,
And the equipment they use to do a whole street,
it's a grinder.
is that?
It's called grinding.
Is that a lot less expensive than trying to do individual?
No, it's more expensive because of the amount of material you're removing. When you're doing a minor repair,
It's just easier to cut out that section and refill it with new asphalt prior to doing your seal coat. But it's a different process altogether. You're talking about bringing in a heavy piece of equipment and grinding down the entire road. And when you do yours, you're just digging it out.
Yeah, and most of the repairs that the individual HOAs have had to do themselves are a result of like the large trucks, the garbage trucks turning in the cul-de-sacs. That's where most of all the repairs are. And that's been the biggest issue with the HOAs trying to budget that. And at this point, that is still HOA responsibility. Is there any way to get that reimbursement?
That is not my call. That would be up to this committee and the CDD.
Can this committee present it to the CDD if we approve it?
If that would be up to you, all of you. Yes.
John, we can do that, but I thought we had written the policy. As a matter of fact, you were part of doing it, to say that we were not going to do those kinds of repairs.
I did write that, and I remember a lot of feedback from a lot of people. And I am just responding to some feedback.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay.
John, we're going to have an engineer inspect them every year. I would think on a practical basis, if he comes back and says, the road's in great shape, but the cul-de-sac is beat up by traffic beyond what the HOA would be accountable for, we would tend to consider maybe doing a repair. I'm not going to put words in anyone's mouth, but I think if it's a garbage truck causing damage, I think that could be a presentable item to us to consider based on the engineer's input.
Did we not try to draw a distinction between what was an aesthetic, such as seal coating, and what was a functional, repair?
Right.
And that was repair or replacement in the case of a villa. So it seems that we get a report back from a qualified expert, then we could say, we need to repair this in this particular spot, however many square feet it would be. Isn't that what we had kind of decided on?
I think that's what we
I
did.
agree.
I think on a case-by-case basis, based on the engineer's report, if there's a section that's really beyond normal wear and it's been torn up because of a garbage trucks and they're the heaviest constant use equipment, I think it can be presented to us and we review it. And the engineer might report that to us ahead of time.
Maybe what we should be doing is, at the time that the engineer is going to be doing his review, her review, we should put out a notice to the communities saying, if you have particular repairs that you think might qualify, let's submit them to the engineers and have the engineers actually look at them.
I agree with that, Phil.
That's a good idea.
That will work.
Yeah.
That will work.
And how would that be done? Through the presidents of the individual HOAs?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll let them know.
That makes
And,
sense.
Scott would inform us when the engineering work is going to be done. And in advance of that, we would put out a notice to the communities to tell them that we're doing this, and if they have particular repairs that they think might qualify, submit them.
Yeah, and that wouldn't include repairs that they might want to do just because they're going to do a surface coating. Whatever minor stuff, that's their issue.
Yeah, and we're talking about repairs here. I think we agreed seal coating is not repair.
Correct.
Right. Follow the experts.
Yeah.
Yes.
Follow the experts' advice, I think.
Everybody satisfied with that? Hmm?
I think you ought to understand,
Bob, would you please come up here? Thank you.
I think PPAC needs to understand what is your budgeted amount of dollars. If memory serves me, in our reserves, we are very underfunded even to replace long-term the roads. So you just be mindful of what you got to spend or you won't have anything.
Well, I was going to bring that up as a
Okay.
secondary thing here. I think we ought to be considering another reserve study.
Yeah, refresh it, absolutely.
Yes, I agree.
Our reserve study, I believe, is about 4 years old. And
This is 2018, that's the one.
And I think we should consider refreshing our reserve study.
Who carries that out?
Well, we would hire somebody to do it. And we generally have somebody on the committee who would work closely with the people doing the reserve study. The last time, I think it was Ron DePonte who was involved. But I think we should consider a reserve study.
I think they kind of recommend we should do one every 4 years, 5
Mhm.
years. There are guidelines on that, but yeah, I think I'm going to talk about that in my presentation also.
Does it, sorry, excuse me,
Go ahead.
who did we use? Doug's got the report from last time.
I don't know if it says.
Yes. And
Good, good.
I'm trying to remember his name, but he happens to have been a resident of
Right.
Pelican.
Is he still a resident?
I don't know, John, whether he is or not.
I believe Mr.
I
Rovner
recommend
was,
we use the same person.
Mr. Rovner was involved with that in some
Yes.
aspect
Yeah,
also.
Philip was involved. So,
So you're talking the P-PAC, our assets?
our asset. Absolutely.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. We're talking about complete.
Yep.
You don't see, anyway, in any event, we've got two things on the table. One of them is to authorize Scott to get bids to do the work on replacing the road in the villa. Do we have any more discussion on that? If not, I think I would entertain a motion to authorize Scott to do that.
I'll make a motion that we authorize Scott to go out for bids to repave the road in the villa.
Yeah, do I have a second?
Second.
Doug seconded. Any further discussion on that? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that carries. you.
Jack Richards.
Jack Richards.
I'll look up if he's still around,
Mhm.
okay?
You got your computer.
Yeah, I would
Yeah,
like.
I'll-
And then I can,
There's an email address on the front page.
okay,
Download.
thank you.
Yeah.
The second issue is, should we go out and find somebody to do a reserve study? I don't know what was the cost of that study? Does anyone approximate? Anyone ever magnitude?
Well, it was done for the period December 17th to November 18th. So it's, coming up 4 years,
Yeah.
but I don't see an invoice in here.
Is that something, Scott, do you recall? Do we get bids to do the study?
You can, or you can use the engineering firm that you've used in the past. Normally, depending on the size of the assets, reserve studies run anywhere between $6,000 and $8,000. So
It'd be easier for this guy to just update this report if we were able to.
Yeah,
use-
I think that's the best way to do that.
it'd be a lot cheaper.
All right. Can we ask,
If he's there and is still doing that type of thing, that'd be the most logical thing.
Otherwise, you're gonna have to have the engineer walk the entire process.
Right, it doesn't make sense, just
Okay.
use the same guy.
I'll send him an email.
okay.
And we'll see.
If he's
Okay,
still in
at
business.
our next meeting, if you'll report on whether he's available to do this.
Okay.
Is he an engineer?
Who cares?
He did this one.
Did this one.
Well, I know he did this one. Normally, they would recommend an engineer be involved with a reserve study rather than an accountant.
Why?
Well, because I think there's technical issues that would be more apparent to an engineer doing that than an accountant who.
And the engineer would probably make recommendations to make it more expensive so that for his own reason for being there. That's what he does.
Well, if he has something at
That's what a
stake,
consultant does.
he would not have
Thank you.
anything
I'll keep it.
to gain from that.
Well, he's
It's
called
just- it's just-
Condominium Reserve Economics LLC.
Okay,
So
and
let's-
it's just a question. What were his qualifications? We
We'll
should know
start,
that.
we'll
Yeah.
start.
I would suggest that, that this is not something that is imminent that we have to do it. So we have time to find out what his qualifications are. And if we're satisfied with those, we could go with him. If not, it's like someone else. John, I see you raising your eyebrows about it.
Fine, I'm saying, let's
Yeah.
go
He
with
wants
him.
to use them.
I want to use them.
Okay.
Why change?
Yeah.
I did
Well,
it
this is
before.
just an inquiry.
At this point, it's an
He might
inquiry.
not, he might be dead. We don't know.
I hope not.
Okay. So Glenn will come back with the information at the next meeting.
Will do.
Okay, thank you. So I think we're set. Anything more on street replacement and road repair? I think we've addressed those issues. Okay, repairs for the cart path around and through the preserve near the boardwalk. Scott, you want to fill us in on that?
Yes, here's another estimate that was in your packet from Gator Construction. Gator Construction currently does all our sidewalks repairs and not only grinding, but replacement of the actual concrete when we have to dig out the tree roots. So they're familiar with the property, and they're the only company I found that would do a small project like this by wheelbarrow, because they're going to have to dig out the areas on the cart path, cut them out, and reapply hot asphalt to them. So that is in front of you for consideration. So,
Scott, when was the last time we did something like this?
well, all I can tell you is nothing's been done in the past 4 years that I have record of. And really, it's only the areas of the cart path that show wear and tear, and I've already marked them. So if you go out on the cart path into the preserve area, right around the boardwalk, you'll see areas marked along the asphalt. Those are the areas that have to be replaced. It's 854 square feet, I believe. So that's something that we need to consider. Another thing I want to bring to your attention is with the construction project going on with moving the ball field out, we're going to lose a good portion of our cart path between bridge number 1 back to the amphitheater. Now, when they're done doing that work, they're going to put in a new asphalt cart path. So ultimately, we probably should consider top coating our blacktop through the preserve and around the rest of the preserve. Primarily, yes, it's aesthetic purposes only, but you're going to have a new dark black cart path, and then you're going to have areas that have been patched that are dark, and then the lighter colored because of the sun and the age of the cart path. So, but I'm working on that proposal right now.
Okay, so that's not in this estimate.
It is not. That is only for the repairs and the replacement of the existing material.
Questions of Scott?
Can we wait for these repairs and use that construction company to do those repairs that you're proposing?
That's a different company, different contractor, so they would not be available to us. I do not know who the town center and the association are using as a subcontractor. I have no idea, because right now they have a general contractor, but I don't know who the subs are.
And we find out.
And we can, but I don't think we have that information yet. So they're not that far along from my understanding. But if you want to wait, they're not going to be on site for probably 8 or 10 weeks.
Is that, a hazard not to do this right now?
There's some safety concerns. We've already done an area right off of Pelican Preserve Boulevard that was a safety concern, and it was both concrete and asphalt. And again, you're opening up the boardwalk. Are you going to save any money doing it or waiting on? No.
Scott, is this in our budget?
Yes,
This is in our budget.
yes. If you look under sidewalk and road repair,
Okay.
it's within our budget.
Further questions of Scott?
Scott, if this is the only company that would be interested or prepared to do a small project, do we risk having them available if we wait or wait too long?
Do we risk? No. I mean, you can put it off. It's more of a safety concern for the walkers as it sits right now, but we can push it out if you'd like. But
I'm not necessarily suggesting that.
Yeah.
I'd be more concerned that if we did wait, they would no longer be available when we wanted.
Actually, I use them frequently within the community.
I
So
see.
we're already using them.
Okay.
They're one of the concrete vendors that do small projects.
I got you. Okay.
So I just don't see the reason to wait or hold off on it. You're opening up the boardwalk and you're going to have more traffic on that cart path. So
Scott, I have one question. When I was listening to the Community Association report, they're going to be staging equipment around the town center in different areas and locations. Would any of the areas that we're talking about repairing also be used for their transportation of equipment to the job site? Because
No.
if it was,
no,
okay.
because that's going the other way.
Okay.
That goes to the left behind the amphitheater.
Yeah.
That's where all the work is being done.
Right. They were talking about using the staging area where they did for the boardwalk.
Yes,
And I was just thinking, well, they go,
but that doesn't include those sections.
okay.
It's
So we're
only the
basically talking
sections.
maybe from the entrances to the boardwalk out to the drive, out the Pelican Preserve.
Best way to
Drive.
describe it is from Bridge 1.
Yeah.
All the way around the preserve to Bridge 4.
Okay.
And then that cart path that goes through the preserve. It does not fall into place from Bridge 4 to Bridge 1 because that's where the construction's at.
Good description. It's a horseshoe.
Yeah, more like a circle, but yeah, somewhat.
Okay. Any other questions of Scott? I don't think we need to pass anything.
No.
This is already in the budget. We just, consensus of the committee is to proceed with the work that Scott has proposed.
I would say yes, because of the safety issues that are concerned there.
Okay. Anybody, any objections?
No.
If not, we will move forward with that, Scott. Thank you.
I'll let you know when it comes up on the schedule.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next thing is member resignation and replacement. As I think you all know, Teresa has decided to resign from the committee. My suggestion here is that we put out what we have done before when others have joined. We put out a memo to the community asking for people to volunteer to serve. And then we make our selection from that group of people. Any
How's the minutes, like these minutes when she's not here, how are they created and what did she do?
They're recorded.
Okay.
There's a recording.
And then someone converts them.
Someone converts them.
Okay, and then she
reviews them.
Okay, so she just does a review of that translation.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly. No. Any other questions? If not, we'll move forward with that.
When will we send that notice out?
Try and get it out next week.
Okay.
It should be relatively simple to do because it's just a,
She got her color golf cart.
yeah. Okay. Association manager report and Wiser.
I'm back. I only have one other item, and that is to introduce John Johnson. And so all of you can get to meet him. He is our account manager for Wiser.
So John, if you want to come on up.
Well, it's nice to meet all of you. I'm John Johnson with Wiser and very happy to be here. Appreciate you guys letting us in through the gates and giving us some access to work with you. So if you guys have any questions or concerns or positive notes, we can go off.
I noticed, Glenn here, your patrol had his lights on,
Mhm.
and now I notice he doesn't. Was there a change or, with the patrol car, the top flashing lights?
We got a few phone calls that they were concerned at night with yellows going into people's houses.
I figured as much. So that's good you shut them off.
Mhm.
Okay, good.
That's about it. Now they will run alleys every now and then. If they have an area they want to check out, they'll turn the white alleys on to put some lights to the houses. But other than that, they'll get turned on for an accident or something. That's it.
Of course. All right, good. I wondered why that changed.
Resident concern.
Okay.
I'm just curious if people on the committee, have you generally gotten good reports so far on Wiser or no reports?
I would like to say all the reports I've gotten until about 6:30 this morning have been outstanding. And at 6:30 this morning, I got one from a neighbor who said he had 3 friends who are on his permanent approved list to come in, got questioned. I talked to John about this briefly after the President's Council, and I was able to get him to resend me his comment because when I responded back and started to look into it, his attachment disappeared. So he sent it to me, John. I will give it to you.
Perfect.
And you can handle it. I don't think we need to take time. I'll go to the KISS principle.
So the
Just
dwelling
pass it on.
live is working well.
Yes, it is.
I mean, I'm amazed to get I get the text message every time I go through the gate. I get it for myself, but I didn't have that before. I don't know if somehow my profile was set up different, but I get a text message when my car goes through the gate. Along with any of my visitors, I get a text.
Really?
Yes.
Really? Is that supposed to happen, John?
Yes.
Visiting
It is.
yourself.
If you set your profile up that way?
Each
is that-
address is different.
Mhm.
So you can set your
But
profile
however
up for
mine got
text.
set up, I
There's
get
a
any of my visitors. that
There's
are
a
on my
story
list.
behind that
Yeah.
somewhere.
Has everybody set up already? Or all the residents set up, or there's
Yes.
still some that have
Does
not?
does
It
your
rolled
wife
over
have to
because Bowling Live is a
follow your
separate
phone
company,
as well?
So it rolled over
Location?
from the previous company.
Okay, so everything has been set up.
Mhm.
Good.
Scott,
So all the people that were on our permanent guest list before are still on it.
Correct.
Scott, I would have one request based on the note I got this morning. He wasn't sure who to contact. He knew me, so I was welcome to get it. But when you do your next newsletter, could you just maybe add a comment that if there's any questions about the entering the gate to contact you folks, I believe they should contact you directly.
Actually, if they're calling at 6 in the morning
You
or
don't want that.
6:30,
No.
I would ask them to call you.
Email. That was
Yeah.
an email.
It was an email.
No, we will, well, no, we'll go ahead and do that.
Hmm.
I don't pick up the phone at that time, but I do answer emails.
I've gotten phone calls from emergencies at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Uh,
No. If you could just add
Actually,
that.
actually, everything is going well for the first 30 days. We are having problems at the front gate with owners being patient going through the front gate. We have actually owners now that don't wait for the double gates to come down all the way. So they drive in and break the beam, although there's signs there and they know how to use it. They break the beam and then the gate has to go through a reset. So, and that happens every year, just so you know. Since I've been here, this is ongoing. So, and it's going to get quite busy as we go into season with pushing 80,000 cars through those 2 gates. So, and that's normal for February, March, and April. So and if your guests are tied up at the gate, just keep one thing in mind, let us know. But the challenge is if one owner does not have their guests set up on Dwelling Live, we have to wait and call that owner and get their approval. So that does slow it down. So, but we have a second officer there and that helps expedite the traffic and keeps the backup down.
All right.
But those are the only issues right now at the front gate. And
And Scott, have you instituted a schedule for the second trap gate? Seems to me like it's up during the day
yes,
and then the evening or early
And-
That's
and
what we
it's
agreed
closed.
to.
yes, that's what
Randy,
you,
that's what we agreed to.
that's what you agreed to at the
We
last
agreed to that.
meeting.
Yep.
And we've communicated it to the owners from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
6 to 6.
I'm sorry, 6 to 6. It is open, just like the exit gate.
Right. The same
And then at
schedule.
night, when we need to control that better, that's when the exit gates and the trap gate are down.
Okay, good.
But again, 80% of our vehicles come through during the day, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. And that's when most of our problems are. That's when people are knocking the arms off the gates. So
Good, thank you.
that's it.
Any other questions of Scott or John? We thank you very much, John. You could,
One last thing, we do have the post orders. I believe all of you've received them. Safety and Security Work Group have them and they're reviewing them, but I wanted to get them to you to help expedite getting your eyes on the document because we need to move ahead and get them in front of Tony so they can get approved by the district. And working with Tony does take a little time, so he's a busy man.
Yep.
Okay.
And this is really part of what I was going to report on safety and security, but we want to, as we've agreed, once we get a set of these post orders, we're going to publish a condensed version of them as we have in prior years, so that everybody knows the basics of what's in the post orders. So that's going to be done. Any other questions, Scott? John, thank you very much, gentlemen. Ponds Work Group, Doug?
I sent a note out. I'll actually start at the back of the report. Everything is green within the ponds area, the conservation area. The ponds, the aerators is all in great shape right now. And my outlook is it'll continue to be in great shape. On December 4th, we turned over the 2 contracts from Aquagenics that went bankrupt to Superior Water for the maintenance of half of the ponds. And then the conservation area went to Solitude, who was the low bid, if you remember, on the original contract. So that's the status right now is Aquagenics workload has been turned over to 2 contractors. And December 4th, they've already met with the team leads for those areas and things are moving good. So from a pond standpoint, we're very good shape, including pond 34 that's been a problem for 10 months. So I feel very good about that. I do not know what level of approval. I just want to talk about the drainage, the downspout initiative. Right now, we're finishing up at Moderita from last year's budget, 2021. I have an approved budget that I've broken up on the front page of the report I gave you, $305,525. I'd like to take that to CDD. We already have the approved budget for that amount to cover that. So I don't know once you have an approved budget, we usually still went forward to CDD for that. I don't know if this board needs to recommend that I take that forward to there, or we take that forward to CDD, but it's $305,529, and we have a budget of $309. By the way, it's year 6 of the project, and we got 2 more years after this. So I broke up the Pistoia and Prado into three contracts.
You can handle that with Clark.
Yeah. Okay, because it's already been approved by the board.
Yeah.
Okay, done.
Anything else? Any questions?
Any questions?
Any questions of Doug? Okay. Sounds good. Safety and Security Work Group, I mentioned, obviously, that we're getting the posts. We will get work through the post orders, review them, have Tony review them, get them approved, and then publish them. We are continuing looking at the speeds, various places in the community. You'll see our traffic cameras around, and we're looking at which areas we're going to want to spend more effort on, where possibly we will need some speed dampening equipment. We're continuing to try and get through to the police and to try and get them to be more active in their and then working on speeding and other violations in the community. We'd like them to write tickets, and we've told you this before. We are adding some projects that have been asked for, particularly in the Casella area, the new area. They feel that the lighting is not quite adequate, and there are other problems there. So we will probably be adding some projects that we're going to be looking at in those areas. And that's basically the safety and security work group. I don't think any questions.
Have the police issued any tickets? Do you know?
Not that I know of so far, not in some time. They've, warnings, yes, but tickets, no. And I think there's a reluctance to issue tickets because ticket means appearing in court, and that takes away from officer time.
Has your group told them or said, we have more problems on Cypress Grove with speeders versus them parking at the golf course, watching people not come to a complete stop at a stop sign there? I mean, do you in the safety group feel that Cypress Grove speeding has been more of an issue than creeping through stop signs?
I can't tell you that. I can tell you only that we are collecting data from all of the, on speed in a lot of areas. But
you don't have any of that data yet?
We have some of it, but we're trying to collect it for a good part of the community so we can decide where we want to do some traffic dampening.
John, I would think anybody speeding on Cypress Grove Boulevard also speeds on Pelican Preserve Boulevard. If they're going to speed, they're going. Doesn't matter what road they're on.
But they have a lot of stop signs coming through Pelican Preserve Boulevard before they get to Cypress Grove.
They have them on
Yes.
Cypress Grove too. And another warning stop sign.
John,
Speeding is a
Well,
problem.
we'll wait for the data.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good question, and we do need to get more data.
Bill,
Yes.
I was gonna be so late, I decided to join remotely. So if you have anything to vote on, can I vote remotely?
Yeah, I saw you appeared there. I'm not sure we're going to have anything to vote on here, Teresa. But
Okay, that's fine.
well, I think we'll wait. If we have something, then we'll allow you in.
Sounds good.
Anything more on safety and security? Any more on safety and security?
Phil, it was just to add to that, Dean Grove has sent out a notice and gotten some responses back and has set up a meeting, a Zoom meeting for Tuesday, the 14th next week. So there may be more to report.
They're right. We have a safety and security.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? Landscape work group, Joe?
Well, I gave everybody a worksheet showing the activity that I've recorded, and I'm not sure that it's 100%. But we've had 33 projects, invoices, and contract jobs that have gone on in the community, totaling about, at least again, not complete, but $58,000 worth of our funds. And I gave that to you just so you can see the amount of activity that's going on. And this is mostly handled by Castle Management and Scott, who continues to really do a good job there. The advertisements for members, we've gotten about 15 members, and I don't think we're going to do any more advertisements for more members. I think we've got a group that should be sufficient to get started. There's still word of mouth conversation and people, I'll say, straggling in to join, which is good. We have our first meeting planned up at the Magnolia Room on January the 10th. And we've booked that for meetings every other month. I don't see any need for us to meet on a monthly basis. And we may not need to meet every other month, but getting started, I want to keep people together and energized. The core group that I've been working with has been posing some really good questions and bringing some ideas of value to the forefront. We're going to be meeting this coming week and trying to put them in some sort of a working order so we could give you a report on that. The budget is something that I've been asked about. We put a note in our first advertisement about the money, and that was basically landscaping, did not include anything on irrigation. So the landscaping was about $650,000 roughly, and I think, Scott, you could correct me on this, but the irrigation is another $150,000 plus. So we're just under $1 million in landscaping and irrigation for our community, which is a lot of money. And that budget, again, primarily is maintaining what we have, not really making additions or any long-term planning. And some of the communities in the community now are starting to see their shrubbery come to the end of its life cycle. And we have never, to my knowledge, ever planned on redoing our landscaping and replacing plants as they're going to start not being able to be controlled or die. So when we're talking about a reserve study, I think, unfortunately, we need to start looking at putting funds aside for our landscaping as we go forward, because we're going to hit a period where we have to do replacements. And actually, we should be doing some upgrading because some of the stuff is really old and it looks old style, and we should enhance the community with some more modern, better suited plants for our community. So we're not in a position to do that. So when I've been recruiting people and they say, oh, geez, you got a budget, I've said, well, hold on. We don't really have a budget to be doing new things. We're going to maintain what we have. The only other thing I want to talk about is we had voted to use some reserve funds for the Prado landscaping, and I want to get that kicked back in gear so we can start planning on that. The last thing is I just got a notice from the CDD. We've been trying to expedite this RFQ for going out for bids, and Tony's been sitting on it for quite a long period of time. And yesterday evening, he apparently just sent his revised comments in on that RFQ. So Elle has advised that she's going to have that updated, submitted out to everybody. And I have the three guys on my landscaping group working on that also, because these are the professionals. These are the guys that know what we're looking at, along with Scott. So that should be moving forward, and we should be getting some dates to send out the bid, to have a pre-bid meeting, and then have some time for those bids to come in. When the bids come in, then there'll be a review of them. And I suspect we'll put some recommendations together, or at least put explanations concerning each bid to present to the board, so we can then decide here, just like we did with the Boardwalk, who our recommended contractor may be, and then present that to the master board. So that's where we are.
Hey, Joe, what you mentioned 600,000 in landscaping. What percent of that is just ongoing contracts that are in place, as opposed to, like I have the ponds maintenance, it's just a yearly contract, and it's almost like in January, that's gone. That money's gone out of your budget because you have these yearly contracts. What percent of that 600,000 are those type of contracts you think?
I don't have a percentage. Scott, maybe you could give some answers or help me out with this. But on this sheet I gave you, if you look at it, and I've been struggling how how to present this. You will see in the very left-hand column, there are estimates, or what I used to call quotes, but they are estimates because in landscaping, you don't have a firm quote necessarily. And they turn into job numbers. And job numbers, as I understand, are beyond the contract. You'll see further down in the list, there's things that just say contract. And that's over in about the
I
middle of
see
the
it,
sheet
down at
under
the bottom.
job number.
Yeah.
And they
I see
are
it.
all done by the contract. And there are no quotes done on that. There are no, that's just their typical stuff. And what I'm finding out is I think in some cases, these may have those ticket numbers, which are either Scott initiates tickets to have work done under the contract, or some of the Emerscape folks find issues and they issue tickets.
So if you just go to the bottom, it looks like 2/3 were under contract and 1/3, 43 was.
Just looking at those numbers.
Yeah,
yes.
just the rough number
And-
was 2/3 of it was under a contract, 1/3 was ad hoc.
Right. And in my learning or my training period, I'd like to sit down with Glenn, and I'm not sure how I can do that legally, to find out how you deal with invoices against work orders. And
It seems to me you could communicate with Scott on that.
Just so you know, that was Scott Charnock, Pelican Preserve. That would not be Glenn. That would actually be myself.
okay,
Glenn's involvement is I have, for check and balances, I can only approve invoices and proposals under $500. Everything else must go to Glenn for his approval. Work orders, same thing applies. Your best reference is looking at the financials. This gives you your contracted landscape maintenance. Landscape maintenance is either shared with commercial or it's landscape maintenance within the community. Everything else is an item that occurs either semi-annually or annually and is an expense to the CDD, such as mulch, pine straw, tree trimming. Those are things that are not in the landscape maintenance contract, but make up that $600,000+.
so they're in the budget.
Yes.
They're, okay.
Yeah, everything that's in your financials. And if you go down there and just highlight all of the landscape, if you're looking at the financials that Glenn gave you, the first line under CDD expenses, landscape maintenance, that's just the maintain. That includes trimming, fertilization, weekly mowings. Then you have the mulch. Mulch pine straw is done twice a year. Tree trimming done once a year, unless there's a limb or unusual growth that has to be trimmed out. Landscape replacement annuals, that's done twice a year. And we just did the plantings. So that gives you an idea on how the budget's built, and it's built in two sections. At the top for the community, at the bottom for the shared expenses with commercial. Shared expenses with commercial are based on the acreage that is maintained by the district. And they also pay non-ad valorem taxes too on their property.
It's a complicated thing. The report that I was getting from Emerscape included not just PPAC and shared properties. So the report I realized really isn't that worthwhile that they're giving me. I've asked them that I'm only concerned in what is PPAC property and not anybody else's. Shared is part of what we do. So I wanted to know that. And they did offer a financial sheet that they put together, which they're going to start sending to me, which will probably give me more detail and line up more with what I'm putting together. But I'm trying to learn all these different processes, and people have been very cooperative. So I thank them for that.
And I can understand you doing that, but I have to ask you, what's the purpose of doing that extra work? If we have the checks and balances to approve the contracts, approve the budget, are you concerned that maybe there's work being done? Not being done that should be? That's why I'm asking.
Well, I think as a landscaping committee, we're responsible for checking what's going on and overseeing it. So I might be making more work for myself than I need to, and maybe I'll decide down the pipe that that's not worth it. But at the moment in learning, I want to learn the details. So I'm much more
Understood.
able to determine what we're doing.
Yeah, and I feel comfortable that, working with Scott Castle and learning myself that, we're monitoring the costs. We compare to the budget so that we're not hit with any surprises there.
Yeah.
And, quality of work, I think, is more important on what you're looking at than how we pay for it,
Well, I'm just looking at the quotes, comparing them, and I'm checking the invoices against the quotes. There could be some changes. I've seen some minor changes, nothing major. It's an educational period, and if you're going to start learning, you need to figure out what you got to learn.
I understand.
And with the aesthetics of what we're doing are important. The long-term planning is probably even more critical. And putting a plan together and determining where we need to focus going down the pike is going to be a big part of what we do.
Well, we always compare ourselves. I look back in my own little world of Verona, and been there 18 years. We're finding now that they overplan it, WCI. So now they're thinning it out, Ameriscape, which should, I say, reduce our costs. But these landscapers, they've got 3 to 5% every year, which makes sense because things go up. And secondly, you have those issues where the palm trees are separate from the contract, the mulch, etc. So sometimes it's difficult to get a pure read on how much we're spending, but as long as we're within our budget and what they're charging. And it always made me shiver to think, how would we get another landscape company into Pelican Preserve and do what Ameriscape does? And, we all hear stories about landscapers, so.
Yeah,
it's a big chore. It's a big expense for us.
it is. And I want to learn
Good.
ground floor up what we're doing and why we're doing it and how
Okay.
we're doing it. And the group we're putting together will be, as I call them, the eyes on the road, looking and seeing if they see issues. Maybe something hasn't been done right. Maybe they think things have been done right. It's going to be I think you're going to have a curve here of learning.
Well, like
And-
Marescape is quoting us roughly 40 grand in Verona.
Yeah.
Just Verona to upgrade plants that have died, et cetera. And we know that I'm a condo association, so we pay for that, everybody. And it's always been an issue to maintain that. It's difficult.
Well, all the HOAs pay for their communities. The only thing that we do typically is the monument or if there's a cul-de-sac.
Right.
And I'm not prepared to move into that, but I think down the pike, we might want to come up with a figure for what each monument is worth to us. And if a community wants to do more, they're welcome to do it. But we should probably have something that we want to work with that we're comfortable with. Same with cul-de-sacs. We have worked with communities on cul-de-sacs in the past and given them an allotment or a credit to do, we'll pay for this much, you do more.
I thought that was discussed and we agreed to that. That's a
Well,
good
we've done-
idea.
we-
That's a great
John,
idea.
I'm not saying to change it. What I'm saying is maybe we should come up with a set figure. A cul-de-sac's worth $1,000 or $800 or, and.
Didn't we discuss it?
Yeah, we have a set amount.
There is a set amount.
Okay, we have done that. So I think what I want to do is document that so that we have it
It is.
and know what we're doing. And Scott may already have that documented.
Okay.
We're just moving forward step by step.
Further questions of Joe? Okay.
Is there a landscape plan that says in these areas, you're going to have this type of flower and this type of color?
Not
Things
any
like that?
longer. Not any, that only comes under the developer. They do a master landscape plan that to get their construction bonds back, that the county and city will come out and inspect those areas. After it's turned over to the association, then it's up to the association to develop a landscape plan. Now, answer to your question, we do have some history on that as far as annuals. Now, it has been our plan or our process is to remove plant material because there's been overplanting. But as Joe mentioned, our funding within our budget is very sparse when it comes down to replacing plant material. So that's one thing the committee's going to need to do is assess those areas and come up with, we look at when developers come in, they plant, 2-gallon plants that grow into these monsters, and then you have it's overplanted. So what the committee will do is decide, okay, what's this plant going to look like when it grows up? Instead of spacing it 12 inches, we're going to space these plants 3 feet apart because they'll grow in over time. So I hope that answered your question. A lot of this has not been planned yet or in place.
Well, I'm looking at landscape replacement annuals. When I first read that, what that said to me is that the flowers that are replaced, in the spring and then in the fall.
Yes.
And is
I
there
have all the
anything else?
counts.
Is it other plants? Is it?
No, it's
where,
only
where in the budget were pays for the palm trees that were struck by lightning and taken down?
We didn't replace them. So that comes under.
So we don't have a budget for that.
Or
for any of the shrubs?
We did have a
Yeah.
budget for that. We just haven't replaced them at this point. We just kind of let them go. There's another one up there at Veneto and Pelican that doesn't look real good. It may have enough green at the top to survive.
No, that's going to be coming down.
That's.
Answer to your question, those numbers are within the operating budget that has been passed down through the years. It's shared plant replacement, shared tree and sod replacement, and then up above, it's the same expense line, but it's not shared. It's sod and plant replacement, tree replacement. So those numbers are broken out, and that's been the challenge. We don't have the money in there to remove the trees and plant new.
And Randy, the fellows that are on our core group are looking at what types of trees.
Can we have one conversation here, please? Can we have one conversation?
The group that we have as our core group, we have a nursery fellow, an arborist, and we have another nursery fellow that have joined us. They have a lot more experience than I certainly have in plant selection, and some of them are basically Florida natives at this point. They've been here long enough. So we're trying to do smarter planning rather than just replacing what was dead or died with the same thing. So we're looking at more economical plantings going forward, and plants that should have a better life, require less maintenance, and look at cost savings in those regards. So we're looking at all these areas as they come, but they come slowly via Mother Nature. So
I'm sorry, Joe.
I don't have any.
Tree and sod replacement, just so you know, tree and sod replacement for the year that just started October 1st is $21,000 for the entire area that we fund. So to replace those 12 Washingtonian palms is probably going to be it's going to be over $18,000.
Yeah.
So that means anywhere else in the community, you can't replace a tree. If it dies, you got to just pull it out.
We just didn't replace them at this point.
Yeah, all we did was pull them out.
And we haven't had a lot of complaints about them not being there. We might consider putting some fewer than what were replaced, and putting a few more in there, but that, we don't want to spend that kind of money at this point. We're 2 months into the year.
Yeah, truth to be told, Randy, is that the budget that we work from, the CDD expense budget, is just, it's the same budget we started with years and years ago. And
That's
we
right.
slowly put a little bit of inflation in there. But the truth to be told is we don't have any dramatic availability of funds to do things. But I would hope that Joe's committee would perhaps be looking at, are there things we should be doing in terms of replacement or upgrading? And we would then need to decide where would we get the funds to do that.
We're going to identify specific areas in this next number of, I'd say next 6 months, go out for bids so we can have an idea what it might cost to do what they want to do, what this group wants to do, and then categorize them, prioritize them, and come back to PPAC at budget time and say, this is what we think has to be done, and this is what we think it's going to cost. So we have a good idea of the funds we're talking about. And that's the goal for the core group in the immediate future.
And if you look at the oldest areas with our landscape, if you look around the monuments on Colonial and then drive south to the main entrance and take the main entrance, just Pelican Preserve Boulevard down to Cypress Grove, that is the oldest plant material. And that's where you see, we got a little age on that plant material. That's where some design and planning is going to have to take place to bring that back up to where it needs to be, because that's the entrance to our community. That will be the key.
Is the reserve there have that, the document? Does that include that? I mean, that'd be like replacing a roof that has a life expectancy. Wouldn't you do the same for plants?
Well, you probably should, but we haven't been.
We haven't done anything.
We haven't done it.
But it could be put into
Yes.
the reserve study, that if we redo that, we could include that in there.
That definitely should be in the reserve study. And that's why I said when we were talking about reserves, I wanted to bring that up, because we need to fund our landscaping going forward. And we need to include reserve funds to do that.
For replacement. like that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Just so you know, normally in reserves, you don't have plant material. Normally, because it's a living item. What you do is you set aside capital dollars to do a capital renovation of a landscaped area. I don't think you're going to get a individual to do a reserve study on plant material, because normally reserve studies, they don't do it. They just don't do it. So what we have to do is we have to set up what we believe is the right plan going forward, do it in phases, put it out to bid, and then back into the budget saying, these are the unfunded projects, thank you, that need to be funded through capital dollars. And then you continue replenishing that. But that's the only way to do landscaping. So.
And communities, and I think Gateway has done this to a certain degree, of bring in a landscape planner to lay out a landscape plan for the community. We're fortunate here in that Joe's setting up a committee that will perhaps take that kind of burden and help us out.
I'm really hoping that these fellows will commit to that. And they're highly qualified, very interested men to do that.
Bob Gepper, again, just to that point, the arborist that is available here, all of the documents were given to one of his members, Mark Eversman. So he has everything the Gateway has, and the guy is available to us. So he's on the right track.
He is excellent. Absolutely excellent.
And this guy doesn't do anything himself. It's not like hire me, I'll put it in for $10. He doesn't hire, he just looks and makes recommendations.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and Eversman's is wonderful if you've dealt with him. Mark does a great job. So he'll be a valuable asset to the community. They're on the right track. Just let them get there.
Yeah.
And the other thing, and I have to throw this in, even with Scott here, is when we get away from the management fees, we pay council to do this. And if the group can assume that and do it, there's $50,000 free. Same thing with safety and security. We're paying $100,000 for those two aspects that if it's done in work groups, we don't need that anymore. That's a savings, and that becomes money for them to go do things. And I'll be quiet.
Mark is absolutely perfect for that.
Yeah.
And you work with him.
I've been
don't
working
you?
with Mark for well over 8 months now.
He does all of our ponds, of the torals. and
All
stuff.
right.
Yeah.
Anything further on landscape?
No.
Nope.
Thank you.
Let's
I think
move
we can
forward.
take that.
Thank you, Joe. Meeting attendance, I must admit, once again, did somebody tell me what the 2 January meeting dates would be?
Well, on the thing, it says the 16th on the minutes.
That one, yes, I understand, but I'm
Oh,
looking.
you're talking about January,
January.
I'm sorry.
Thursday.
13th, I guess. Thursday and the 27th.
The 27th, you're looking for a volunteer, right?
We're looking for volunteers for both of those days.
Well, Doug's on the one,
That's December.
That's December. That's a December meeting.
sorry.
January 13th. Have anybody who can step up to that one? Okay. I will do it.
No, I'll do it.
You do it?
You're busy. I'll do January 13th.
Okay.
I'll do the 27th.
And Joe, you'll do the 27th, okay?
Isn't the 13th the second Thursday?
It's January 6th and January 20th.
Yeah, it's not the
6th and
27th.
20th.
Oh, okay.
The 6th.
6th and the 20th?
John said he'll do what?
I can't do the 6th. That's Christmas Eve.
Ooh, I may have a problem with the 20th.
Huh? Okay. John, can you do the 20th?
I'll do the 20th.
Okay.
Yeah, I did December.
Anybody can do the 6th? Okay, I will try and do the 6th.
I'll do the 6th.
You'll do the 6th, okay.
I'll do one in February.
Okay, so now we're to the 6th is Glenn, the 20th is John. Okay,
No offense to Bob Geppert, but that's like watching paint dry, I'll tell you.
They're not that interesting. Don't over-glamorize it.
okay.
Wait till they get rid of virtual. If virtual, you can survive easier.
Oh, I do virtual.
Okay, and we,
January 20th, is that what it was?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
you're
what it
the
was.
January 20th, and we already have February 3rd. Joe said he would take that, so we're a step ahead of the game. Okay. Okay, committee requests and audience comments. Audiences, please step up and say where you're from.
A quick comment for the Safety and Security Committee and for the group as whole. Gateway is engaging with a provider that's installing cameras to check license plates as people come in and out of the community, and came to the board to do it in a number of locations in Gateway. I volunteered Pelican also to make it part of that whole package that has been approved. So we will be getting cameras also that are not connected to Securitas or Weezer. This is directly to the Lee County Sheriff's Department. It's their program. But we'll know every license number of vehicles going in and out of our community. And it's a real-time type of thing. And if there are issues, then they can immediately respond, like a known stolen vehicle coming in or stuff like that. So, but I want to make sure you knew it was happening, and it was completely separate from anything that we do internally as a PPAC.
Bob, don't we do the same thing at the gates?
It's not real time.
No.
We keep the recording and you can go back and see,
I got you.
but this is,
It's
if a
very-
tag is flagged and they come in, they know it immediately and
I
they'll send
got you.
people.
It's real time versus batch.
Yes.
Is this something we should,
Facial recognition.
Yeah.
is this information we should be putting out to the community? Or-
We can, we're buying the equipment now, aren't we, Gary? When it's ready, I'll make sure you know it. You personally know it.
Yeah,
This is something the Safety.
And we can just let them know it's there.
Yeah, Safety and Security Committee. I had mentioned this because I went to the presentation that they made at the
Yeah, it's
CBD.
done for Lee County Sheriffs. That's the really originating department in order to make all of our communities safer. And they apparently have a huge database, and the more places that they can get information from and data, the faster they can respond.
we will know when a criminal comes in if he's got a stolen car from the license plate, get right to the police.
Yeah, if it's a recorded license plate, they'll know immediately. So that's the only thing I had.
So people want safety. Now we can say we really have something that's functional. I have one item. I've been asked about the resolution that created PPAC, and if we have one, and I have never thought about it, and I probably should have, because I think it's something we all ought to be familiar with, because it probably has some things spelled out in it that would be beneficial for us to know going forward. And one fellow that I've been talking to actually got a hold of the CDD, and he got a copy. They sent him one,
Yeah,
but it's unsigned.
It's unsigned, I understand. that.
And I don't know if that's the legal one or if that's just a copy of one that was proposed.
Yeah,
So-
we want to pursue that.
Okay, I think that would be
Joe, I
something.
think I can answer your question, Bob Geppert again. There was never a resolution. The group became the group when the community, by way of the Residents Alliance, asked the CDD to collect taxes for certain functions, security, landscaping, ponds and wetlands. So based on that request, the board created or appointed a number of people to investigate that proposal. Could it be done? Would it be done? Should it be done? The end result of that was that the CDD accepted those three functions from billing. We stopped paying WCI. It came over here. That committee was then dissolved, but the board said, you were very helpful to us. We would like to formalize you. It wasn't a resolution. This is in the minutes of the board. And that's when the Pelican Preserve Advisory Committee was created. Not all of the same people stayed on it. There was a group that started, Nancy Hall, myself, and then everyone else has come since then. But I don't think you're going to find a resolution, because this has just been an on hoc type of thing. But our function has been from day one is to guide the CDD on the monies that are appropriated in Pelican Reserve and how they're spent. That's what it's been since day one. So we wanted money for ponds and we were willing to tax our residents for it. We manage those monies on behalf of the CDD. And to date, in the last 12 years, they've never denied a request from this group to the board to start something or pay for something, other than the golf cart. The golf cart lane. That's the only exception that I know of in the 13 and 14 years I've been involved in it. But if you're looking for a resolution, you won't find it. It's not there. It will be in the minutes.
Okay,
See, this one is dated 2010-09.
yeah.
That sounds about right. It was in that time frame, 08, 09. Yes.
So it's never been enacted or enforced.
Well, it has been, because we're just an adjunct of the CDD.
Yeah, yeah.
But it doesn't have its own charter.
Oh, charter, no.
It doesn't need it, yeah.
Up to now, we haven't.
Number around here with that information.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any further?
One more. Kathleen.
Yeah.
Weren't you here last meeting? So I guess she doesn't get her road fixed, she'll keep coming.
No, you'll see me after that. So I've learned a lot and I still am.
Kathleen, please.
Oh, yes, Kathleen, well, I was distracted. Kathleen Anderson, president of Avila. Can you all see me?
Yeah.
Hardly.
I just wanted to say that thank you for all your teaching input, but also when it comes to the Avila process, you know, I'm asked a lot. The rumors are flying. And like I tell them, nothing's done till I hear something signed, sealed, delivered. But PPAC or the CDD will put the notice out, correct? With the road in relationship to the road in Avila, when that process
Yeah.
gets done. Because I'm trying to keep it concise so the rumor mill doesn't, you know, people are
Yeah.
coming to me with different things.
You will get, Castle will put out the
Yeah,
information.
that's what I'd rather have it just, so I just say, you know, it's being looked at, worked on. Okay?
You can tell them we're now going to put out, we're going to go for bids. This is.
Yes, and that's all I wrote. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Phil, may I add one thing? The Palazzo Road transfer is still with the attorneys. And the attorney now of record is the Palazzo attorney, not ours. So Mike is aware of that, and we're just waiting for him to dot the i's, cross the t's, and move it on. So with that, I'll wish everybody a happy new year and merry holidays. and-
Any other questions? Any other comments from the audience? Okay, well, I would like to express my thanks to everybody who has served on the committee. I appreciate all the efforts you put in. I think we've made some progress this year. We've got a lot more to do. But again, have a wonderful holiday, and I appreciate everything you've done. Next meeting is January 13th. Yep, you should have seen that.
Bill, I guess I have a question.
Yes, go ahead, Teresa.
I assume that you talked about my resignation before I got here.
That's correct.
We refused it.
And I guess my question is, does the committee want me to go ahead and serve until there is a replacement? Or do you want me to not come to any more meetings?
Any expression from the committee?
I think your words of wisdom would be appreciated
Yep.
until we
I
have a
would-
replacement.
If you would serve until we agreed that we would get a notice out next week looking for candidates.
Yeah,
But
if
if
you
you
could,
Okay,
until we get a replacement.
That would be good.
okay.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I would accept a motion to adjourn. Doug,
Motion, we adjourn.
Second.
seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you
An
all.
hour and a half, that is good.
That's a good kid.
Hour and a half is good.
Teresa, you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
You know, you don't get the holiday bonus now that you resign.
Oh, well, I'll learn to live without it.
And in fact, we cut your retirement.
Yeah, we're not gonna give you a golden parachute.
I was going to tell you, Teresa, now that you're gone, we'll put, change the golf cart regulation since you're gone now.
Uh-oh,
That's their claim to fame.
Yeah, that's right.
that's right. You're gonna ruin my legacy.
Forgetting, Glenn.
Well,
See
happy holiday, or Merry Christmas, everybody.
Same to you.
Are you?
Where are you going?
Bahamas.